Hello, everybody. My name is Adam, and I am beardless, and I'm trying to become the most prolific reviewer of all time. On the weekend, many things happened to me that changed my life. One is that I was rollerblading for the first time in many, many years, and I broke a bone in my elbow. And while after that, I was watching a movie with my son called Teen Wolf from 1987, starring Michael J. Fox. And I was in excruciating pain, so then I had to go to the hospital later and get an x ray and all of that stuff. But um, the actual movie, it's it's an enjoyable movie, but it's not good. If you don't know the story of Teen Wolf, it's basically about a boy who plays on a basketball team and he's not very well, he's okay, but his team is not very good. And he likes this girl, but she doesn't like him, and he has a best friend who is like kind of crazy about him. She's a girl, but he doesn't really notice her because he's focused on this girl. And then he notices that he's going through some changes. And like a lot of these movies, I think it's a bit of a metaphor for puberty, but he is a wolf. He's like a werewolf. And there's lots of great scenes where, hair randomly spouts and he, he wants to buy a keg for a party and the guy says no. And he's like, let me buy a keg of beer, please. And his eyes grow red, so the guy lets him. And yeah, he's trying to deal with that. And there's a great scene that has stuck, it's imprinted myself in my memory, where he becomes this werewolf guy and he's in the bathroom and his dad is outside and he's like freaking out because he's a werewolf and he's like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And the the dad's like, what's wrong, Scott? Let me in, let me in. And Scott is like, no, no, dad, no, dad, I don't think you'll understand, I don't think you'll understand. And then he opens the door, or he maybe forces the door open, and Scott sees that his dad is also a werewolf, and he is like, what, how could you not tell me, basically. So yeah, it's about a family who have this gene where they're actually werewolves. And then the rest of the movie is Scott's journey to try and balance these sort of phenomenal powers with being a regular guy. And of course, he uses it to his whole advantage and he tries. I mean, it's not just his fault because people treat him differently when he's this wolf. Because he's playing basketball, right? And he's winning. So everybody's like, yay, Teen Wolf, yay. Which is weird because it seems a bit unrealistic because now people complain about men in women's sports, like, you know, transgender people who are biologically male playing in women's sports. So I think if people complain about that, and that happens like 0.00000 whatever percent of the time it happens, I think people would be complaining about the fact that one of the players on your rival's team is a literal werewolf. Like, I think they'd be like, hey, we don't want to discriminate, but he is an actual werewolf. So if he wants to play basketball, maybe they could have a werewolf league or something because he has a lot more abilities than other people do. Because apparently werewolves are very good at playing basketball. So yeah, but nobody has any problems with that. But he becomes more and more of a jerk to his friends, to this best friend, forget what her name is, and they do this thing where they're playing this party game where they're stuck in the closet for 5 minutes, and he gets a little bit too excited, and he rips her back because he has werewolf claws, and that's not really brought up again because it's interesting because they don't really refer to it, and I think that's kind of problematic. One of the problematic things about 80s cinema is that there are a lot of like implied sexual assault situations that are not really addressed. And surprisingly, because maybe not surprisingly, but this movie came out at the same weekend as Back to the Future. Can you imagine having like you're starring two like hit movies that are out at the same time? Kind of crazy. Michael J. Fox had a really weird 1986, I think. I believe that they came out at the same time. But anyway, in Back to the Future, there's a part where Lorraine, so I forgot what his character's name in Back to the Future is. Maybe also Scott? I don't know. But anyway, so Lorraine is being attacked by Biff, and then like later on, Biff will stay in their lives. Like he'll be like in the real world that the movie starts in. Biff is like the J. Fox's character's dad, and then like in the way that the timeline has changed, he works for the dad, but like that is not any kind of consequence. And in this movie, later it's obvious what happened is that he was like a werewolf kind of guy and he lost control. Which, I mean, I think probably the standards for werewolves are a little bit different for the standards for regular people, but the girl doesn't know that at the time, and she is disappointed in him, but she doesn't stop talking to him. And maybe I think that's kind of realistic, actually, but they never like he they never bring it up again, and Scott is never like, I'm sorry that that happened. I lost control because I'm a werewolf. I'm sorry about that. There's no acknowledgement even that it happened. So I think that's really weird, and I think probably a lot of people have gone back and analyzed movies from the 80s from that perspective to see, because the famous one is Revenge of the Nerds, but I'm sure there's lots of other things like that in the 80s. And yeah, so that is a bit of um, a little thing to criticize, but I don't think it's unique to this movie. And the why is the movie so good even though it's so bad? So maybe let's talk about why it's bad. The movie is bad because it's sort of a typical like sports movie where the underdog needs to triumph, but the underdog is not actually the underdog in this movie, and the way that they make the under him be the underdog and his team be the underdog is that he's not going to play as a wolf at the end, which is like, okay, very great, but like, why are you in the championship game? You're in the championship game because he played as a wolf for 20 games or however many games the season was. So that's a little bit odd. But why is the movie so good? Well, it's good for two reasons. One, the practical effects are great and they're practical. Um, and like it's not scary. It's kind of scary, but not scary at the same time too. Like when Michael J. Fox is a wolf, he's not like a crazy dog snarling person. He's just like a fluffy, like I think my son said, like he was like Chewbacca, and that's kind of the vibe that you get from the practical effects. And the other thing is like Michael J. Fox. I don't know why he didn't have a bigger Hollywood career. Oh, actually, probably I do. But Michael J. Fox just had so much charisma, right? And he was so good at playing that type of character, like this teenage boy who's struggling and has a good heart, but sometimes doesn't know what to do, like in Back to the Future, the franchise, and in this. Why do I think he didn't have a bigger career? It's just basically he always looked like he was, until much after his career, he always looked about 30 years younger than he was. So probably people wouldn't want to give him a chance as an older character, but they wouldn't want to give him a chance as a younger character because even though he looked younger, he wasn't actually younger, and people would say, "Hey, he was in that sitcom in 1983 where he was playing a teenager, and it's now 1993. How is he going to be playing a teenager 20 years later?" So I think that was that reason. So it's an enjoyable movie, but not a great movie. If you've never seen it, I would definitely recommend it. So that's my review of Teen Wolf. So what do you think? Uh, if you've seen the movie, leave your comments in the comment section down below where the comments should be. And if you want to support me in the work that I do, trying to be the most prolific reviewer of all time, please like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, please follow. I have literally one follower, but according to Spotify, I should have at least 10. So that's interesting information from Spotify. And yeah, so I'm about the YouTube subscribers. I'm trying to have 150 subscribers by the end of January, and I believe I have 140. So I think that will be doable. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.